Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to yet another episode of Let's Jaliawala. Let's is leadership, enterprise and technology. Three words that I have consolidated my own work in. Having done this for over a decade, I have met some fabulous people, and I believe that their word, their message needs to reach at least to the people who have been on my page and on my social media. So here it is. I have somebody fantastic, and I'm so grateful that he has taken out time. Last 2 decades, he is an established name in the telecom industry, whether you speak of Asia or the MENA region. He's worked with leading international telecom players. He was the founding director and the chief executive officer for Mobile Zone, which is one of the largest mobile distribution companies, handset distributors in Pakistan. He's also co-founded the Mobile Advantage company, which is called MAD, and a principal consultant at Excelcom. He has supported and invested in a number of startups. He has made it happen for his own self in his entrepreneurial journey, and now he's out there to make it happen for many, many young people. I wouldn't say he has teamed up with Team Up. I think he's one of the integral members there, and it's fascinating seeing people like him doing this for so many young people and the startup ecosystem. Thank you very much for being on the show, Parvez Abbasi.
Thank you very much, Umair. Thank you for your invitation.
It's great having you with all the profile and the achievements. My first question to all the guests has been, how do you define yourself? So not the profile that we get or that we read, in your own words.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Umair. I think in one word, I would describe myself as a friend. What I've learned in life is that people need some help and they struggle throughout their life. Or they've been successful and they need to share that victory with somebody. So I see myself as a friend. A friend when you have something to celebrate, and also a friend when you need help. That's how I would consider myself.
Wow, fascinating. So you're a friend of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Is that the right thing to say?
Well, I am today.
Yes. Wow. And what are your core beliefs? If we have to sort of dissect this mind and look at your operating system, what is running that OS? What are the core conditions?
Core beliefs are developed, I think, in early stages in your life. And core beliefs typically are from people who you are surrounded with. And in this particular case, I would say that it was my father. I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of quality time with him, and he was, of course, my role model. Interestingly enough, he only went to school in up to 3 classes, so he wasn't a very well educated person, but interestingly, he was very literate. So he made an effort many years later to learn and to read and to educate himself. So that's where I think I would take it from. But also,
please help us know more about him. What's his name?
My father, his name was Dad, Khalik Dad. We should call him
Khalik
Dad.
Nice.
And he left in the early 60s to the UK, immigrant, economic migrant. So back in the village, our step-grandmother didn't have a really good feeling for him. So he had to leave, a very disturbed childhood. But that didn't affect him. Despite the challenges that he had, going on to working 2 jobs in the UK, just to bring up his family in the UK and also send money back home so his family could survive in Pakistan, it never made him a negative person. He always had a positive attitude towards life. So some of the things that I think that I've developed, and God has been very kind, are the image of my father. And in that, there are many things. To quote a few, is I would always see him working hard. So having 2 jobs, for example, means that you're working 12 to 14 hours a day. And for me, I've tried to replicate that. So for me, I've always tried to not only reach my father, but try to exceed a little bit more. Because he said to me, कि जहाँ तक मैं आपको लेकर आ सकता था, मैं आपको ले आया हूँ. इससे आगे आपको जाना है. So working 12 hours, 14 hours a day is very easy for me. Even today, at this age, I can comfortably work 12 to 14 hours.
How long have you done it?
So I first started working when I was 13 years old. Today I'm almost 53. So those of you who are good mathematics, it's 40 years.
4 decades, yes.
4 decades.
Wow. It's 4 decades of 12 hours of working every day.
Yeah. Wow. And those are good days. Sometimes it's been 16 hours. So this is the point I'm trying to make, is hard work. This is inculcated. You cannot be successful, you cannot achieve anything until you're willing to put in the effort. वो कहते हैं ना कि it's 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. We have to make that effort. So as I said, I saw my father, very positive, very liberal, very open-minded, very accommodating, very hardworking. And
That's a lot
despite
of
all of the challenges,
inheritance. You're one of the richest men I know of.
indeed I am.
Yeah, and more than that, how more, what more did you add to that? So you had these five principles you saw in your dad, and that has been your core all throughout.
Yeah. So again, I was very fortunate to grow up in London, in the UK. This is in the 70s now. We were there a minority, and we had the opportunity to interact with different communities. So whether you were Sikh, Hindu, Christian, Jew, African, Nigerian, any kind of culture, we were always taught that everybody is the same. We are all equal. So for me, when I meet people, I do not distinguish between caste, creed, color, or anything like that. So this is again some of the environments that you are taught in. Parents, of course, they teach all their children. I don't think I was unique, that you should be honest, hardworking, study hard, blah blah blah. And those are the things that I think ultimately have helped to shape some of the things that I've done. And God has been very kind. I first of all, attribute success to Him, to my parents, and then thirdly to myself, if I may. And that was only possible because, to give you an example, when I came to Pakistan, people generally here did not like to work. And now I'm talking about the early 90s.
Has it changed?
I think so. I think the new generation, people like Afifa are willing to work nowadays. So yes, definitely we are changing. But in those days, two things: people didn't want to work, and people didn't really know how to work as well. So we had a very, very small industry. So I joined the telecom industry at the time, very, very small industry. But before I even go into that, I think it's important that one of the other things, the attributes I believe in, is that everybody has a purpose. And there is always good in every single person. And that good is not attributed to that person, it is attributed to the person's creator. Allah Ta'ala फजूल में कोई चीज़ बनाता नहीं है, लिहाजा उसने जो चीज़ बनाई है उसमें यकीनन कोई ना कोई अच्छाई होगी. My other belief is that there is an element of luck, and everybody is lucky. I used to believe that everybody is lucky once in their life, and those of us who are really lucky, we get two chances, and we're lucky twice in our lives. Later on, I realized that actually that's not true. We always have opportunities. We are not prepared to capitalize on those opportunities. So luck basically favors the brave. Who dares wins. And you have to be prepared to take that opportunity.
And also have the eye to recognize those opportunities.
For sure.
So many people walk, so it's being blind and being deaf to whatever is around, and it could be music, but people would keep complaining. So 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours at times, and 4 decades you mentioned. I think one thing that really defines us is how we use our time. What do we do all day long? And everybody gets the same time, but what they create is so different. So in your life, what has been that everyday like? What is every day for you?
Yeah. So the beauty is that every day has been different. And even today, I'm actually semi-retired. So a typical day may not necessarily be 16 hours or 14 hours. It is occasionally 12 hours, but mainly 8 to 10 hours. So in the past, I would work, for example, in terms of traveling. There was a lot of travel. Literally every other day I was on a flight. I'd wake up in the morning in some hotel room, and it would take me a while to realize which city or which country I'm in. But things have changed, fortunately. I spend most of my time now in bed at home, at least on a daily basis. The rest of the day is typically an early morning wake up. So I typically wake up about 6 o'clock. I get ready, and I'm normally in the office by about 8:30. I believe, again, this is the training from the English, that if you reach somewhere on time, you're already late. So this is important.
If you reach somewhere on time, you're already late. Wow.
So somewhere where you're going, you need to be there earlier. Time is the most valuable commodity. It's the only thing we cannot buy. So in today's world, a morning breakfast. So I have a meeting normally with either individuals or my team members, and we kind of like set the pattern for what's going to happen for that particular day, or an update of what happened the earlier day. Throughout the day, we have scheduled meetings, scheduled appointments, and then in between we have unscheduled meetings and unscheduled appointments where people just fall in, drop in, etc. I'm very fortunate that we have a great team, and those are the people who are able to manage the day-to-day activities of the incubation center and the other businesses that we have, which allows me to basically free up and do those things that I'd like to do. And typically we finish around 6 at the office. Then I try to find where my wife is and pick her up, and then we go out either for a meal, go to somebody's house. Occasionally, of course, we have guests and we have work. So that 12 to 14 hours that I mentioned is not necessarily what we have to do today. If there is a need, I'd still do it.
Yeah.
But again, I think as you grow older, your lifestyle changes, your body changes.
Yes.
And also you realize that maybe there are other things in life which are perhaps more meaningful.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't necessarily need to have this particular meeting. Maybe spending some time with somebody who I care about, somebody who I love, that's more important as well. So I don't want to say I'm a perfect guy in that context, but I'm trying to improve.
And nobody is. It is a dance at the end of the day. You have to sort of keep going with it, keep going with the rhythm. In my interactions, a lot of young people would say, when I ask them, what is success for you? And they'd say, I want to become a CEO. What is success for you? I want to start a business. And here we have somebody who's done 4 decades of it and very, very successfully, mashallah. How do you define success?
I think, first of all, there is no definition of success per se. Success is actually a moving target. So an example I would give you is, once upon a time, during one of the training workshops, they gave us a task of climbing a hill. So as soon as we climbed that hill, we had achieved the objective. So we were successful. But as I looked over my shoulder, I realized there's another hill which is taller than this. So now I was wanting, I had a desire to climb the next hill. So success is relative term. So for example, when you're a young kid, maybe not crapping in your nappy would be a success. Because maybe using the potty would be a success. Maybe just getting up and walking a few steps would be a success. So success again would be a relative term. However, I believe that if you sleep well at night, if you have a contented heart, if you have good wishes, people who are praying for you, even though you don't know it, and I have, mashallah, lots of them, alhamdulillah, that I would term as being success. People coming to you and asking for advice, whether it's personal, whether it's professional. I think seeing people grow. Success doesn't necessarily mean your own personal success. It means the success of those people that you've touched in your life. And I just want to share a small story. As you mentioned, as one of the telecom operators, one of the persons who was getting an award, Salesman of the Month or Salesman of the Year, as he was receiving that award, I felt that I was receiving that reward because I was a part of that journey of his. And when he came off the stage, he actually said that, sir, I actually felt that, you were the person who deserves this award more than me. So that's real success. But for me, in a very short span, on a daily basis, I have a target in my life, and that is to make people smile. So if I make people smile in a day, that for me is success.
It's a great, I love it when you say it's a moving target. It's a moving target, and how for some people, small task could be a big deal because that's the next development stage. I was also thinking of the old song, जिसमें कहते हैं कि जब मंजिल आ जाए तो बस मुझे जगा देना. I want the manzil to move to the next one. To make it happen, and you have so well, what are the disciplines that you have, you've sort of imposed on yourself? It's always imposing it when it's at the start, but that you live by, the disciplines that you carry. It's a great, I love it when you say it's a moving target. It's a moving target, and how for some people, small task could be a big deal because that's the next development stage. I was also thinking of the old song, जिसमें कहते हैं कि जब मंजिल आ जाए तो बस मुझे जगा देना. I want the manzil to move to the next one. To make it happen, and you have so well, what are the disciplines that you have, you've sort of imposed on yourself? It's always imposing it when it's at the start, but that you live by, the disciplines that you carry.
Yeah. So I think, again, working hard is very, very important. So I'm not a very intelligent person, so I have to work extra hard. I learned this very early in my life. And that lack of intellect has resulted in me having to study or work twice or thrice as much as anybody else. So for example, if we are given an assignment, a project, people like yourself can very easily finish it in half an hour.
Hey, you're overestimating me here. I understand what you mean.
I will have to take 3 or 4 hours to do that.
And you're willing to put yourself...
I'm willing to do that. Yeah. So that means if I have to stay up late or if I have to wake up early, just to compete with your half an hour's work, I'm willing to put the 3 hours work in there.
And it's fascinating that actually a lot of studies say that the people with talent go wasted in most cases, and people with that ability to keep exerting themselves are the ones who make a big difference.
Correct. I also believe that as well.
Yeah, that's great. relationships, an important part of our life. How do you define relationships?
Well, relationships, again, I think, being an entrepreneur and struggling has a negative impact on your relationships. So, unfortunately, I think that that's an area where I have neglected my relations with family, with friends, with kids as well. But looking back on life, and I guess it's always easy in hindsight, I would say that one of the most important things is relationships, especially with those people who are close to you. I would like to narrate a story here. Um, my son's birthday, I think he was 16 or 17 at the time. I was in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I called him to wish him a happy birthday. And to my surprise, he said, "Ke aap sham ko ghar pe nahi honge?" And I questioned myself that particular day, okay, what the hell am I doing all of this for? And for a brief moment in my life, these are the kind of challenges and questions that we have to ask ourselves. It is a lonely journey. It is a tough journey. Not a lot of people can travel with you on this journey. But I would like to suggest to people who are on this journey that don't burn those bridges. Maintain those relationships. And even if they are weak relationships, you can refine them, you can define them, you can work on them. But maintain those relationships.
Wow. Fabulous. A lot of people keep asking, books बताएं, किताबें में बताएं. When we always keep saying, go book shopping, find out something that relates with you. But 3 books that you would recommend is, essential books that people must read.
So I think personally, the first book that I read was from Messages of the Prophet. So these are short quotations and anecdotes from the beloved Prophet, which really gave me a dimension of interest and understanding of Islam, which I did not have previously. And I think it's important to have some form of spirituality and those defined lessons. So for example, we often talk about science and learning. These are relative. Nature has been doing the same thing that you and me are doing for thousands of years. And and nature has the benefit of experience behind it. So we should look at that. So that was one of the books. It's Sayings of the Prophet. The second book I would recommend is a book by Anthony Robbins. It's known as Awaken the Giant Within. Again, a fantastic book. I personally learned a lot reading that particular book and realizing that every person has a potential. It is inside the person, and we have to get that out of us.
So I call that book a diploma. It's the sheer size of it. When people look at it, oh, how will I do that? But I say it's a diploma. So yeah, Awaken the Giant Within. Go on.
I'm sure many people have read The 7 Habits and Stephen Covey, and I think people should definitely read that. And I know I've said 3, but with your permission, one of my favorite books, it's known as The Richest Man in Babylon. I would encourage all entrepreneurs, people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, to read that book. It will help you to become
The Richest Man in Babylon.
The Richest Man in Babylon.
I've got to read that one too. Great, thank you. From this journey, this huge 3 stories that have moved you the most, that inspired you on the way, that you would like to share with us.
In terms of personal stories, or
yeah, we leave the choice to the guests.
Okay. So, in terms of personal stories, people should never forget how important a moment is. And in my life, there was a defining moment. It was a television ad. And television ads normally last maybe 30 to 60 seconds max. And this ad changed my life. It was an ad in 1987. A gentleman was driving a car, a black limousine. I remember it as if it was yesterday. Black limousine in America, New York, stuck in traffic, and it was raining. And he reaches out in the dark to his mobile phone. And then he dials a number. And the next scene is a gentleman playing golf in London on a golf course. And as he's about to take his shot, his phone rings. So he walks over to the bag. He picks up his phone. And then it says, Motorola. And I remember thinking, वो तार कितनी लंबी होगी जो गोल्फ कोर्स के ऊपर उसके साथ घूम रही है. This is 1987, 88. Wow. Since that day, I had a passion for mobile phones. And that passion, despite my lack of intellect, has given me the opportunity to spend 16 hours on the subject matter. And with all due respect to my colleagues, allowed me to get that edge. Many people who are more intelligent, better education, better background, more well-spoken, but they never had the passion for that particular subject, which I had. And I beat them because of the passion. So that's one story I'd like to share. I mentioned about my father, the fact that he actually took a journey from London to Pakistan with his 5 children in the back in a car. So he drove.
You drove from London to Pakistan?
Yep. The year is 1972. And interestingly enough, he decided to pack his bags, sell his property, and come back and settle back in Pakistan. Interesting thing is that, and he wasn't alone, by the way. So there was a community of ours. There were 3 or 4 families who did the same thing together.
They all came together.
They all came together. Yeah. And the interesting thing is that everybody put their house on sale. And our family friends, their houses got sold, and our house didn't get sold. Nobody would buy our house. We didn't get the right offer. So that was considered to be a negative. कि हमारा घर बिका नहीं है, बाकियों के पैसे आ गए थे, उनके घर बिक गए थे. Fast forward another year, 2 years later, things didn't work out in Pakistan. And everybody had to relocate. Because we hadn't sold our house, we still had a house in London, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Whereas those who had sold their house had nowhere to go. So I believe that the Lord God works in miraculous ways. So when things happen to you which you don't necessarily think of being in a positive light, don't look at it as a negative. He knows better. कभी कभी हमारी छोटी सोच होती है कि यार ये हो जाना चाहिए था. So I believe that God opens doors for you, but He also closes doors for you as well. And if you're going in the wrong direction, He closes them and He opens the other ones for you. And lastly, I would say that inspiration, that anything is possible. And I've seen this not once, twice, or thrice. I see this every single day with the people that we work with. That if you have the right intention, the right effort, the right motivation, the right passion, the universe will conspire to help you. And we've seen this. So entrepreneurship is a great journey, and especially among the young people, I believe that entrepreneurship can get our country out of the current challenges that we are embraced in. If you look at the US as a world power, superpower, how did it get there? Through these startups that became mega companies, the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Apples of this world. Same is the case with China. So I believe that if we can do the same thing here in Pakistan, we would be able to create future unicorns, which ultimately would be able to create millions of jobs and hundreds of millions of taxpayer money, so that we can make our economy strong.
That's and if our economy is strong, to get there with dignity and in a sustainable fashion.
And we can do that through education. We can do that through technology, and we can do that through our youth. So the entrepreneurial journey is the same. It's different for everybody, but the ingredients are the same. So for example, in a chicken biryani, you may make it in a slightly different manner to what I would make it. By the way, my one won't taste nice, so don't try it. But the ingredients are the same. You need chicken, you need rice, you need some basic stuff, right? So I would encourage people to follow entrepreneurial journeys of other people who have been successful and learn from their experiences.
And find out those ingredients that one could pick as disciplines. Wow. Pakistan or Naya Pakistan, however you'd put it, but your 3 ideas for Pakistan. Of course, you've said one part, which is entrepreneurship leading to, giving answers to our biggest challenges, but 3 ideas that you have for Pakistan.
I think, first of all, Naya Pakistan, and I do believe in Naya Pakistan. I believe that first and foremost, we should not look to other people. I know this is cliche, we should look to ourselves. What are we doing before we ask somebody, okay, what are they doing for Pakistan? So I think, first of all, there is a mindset. The old mindset is it cannot be done. ये तो चलता है, पाकिस्तान में ऐसे ही होता है. We need to stop that. The things that have happened in the last few months and the last year or 2 years, they're unprecedented. If you look at what has happened, these things could not even be imagined 3 or 4 years ago. They've happened. It's done. अगर वो हो सकता है, तो सब कुछ हो सकता है. So with this open mind, hard work, effort, sacrifice, it's not possible without these things. If you look at successful nations or successful people, their success is built on hard work, the ability to work in challenging environments with minimum resources. These were not rich people or rich countries originally. They made it. We can make it. We have a wealth of natural resource. Our youth is a great opportunity for us and a phenomenal risk.
For the next 30 years it is, for sure, yes.
But it's also a risk, Umair. If we don't channelize them, this could blow up in our face. And then the last part of it is, of course, technology. I think technology is a great enabler. So whether you're sitting in Silicon Valley or in Rawalpindi, if you have access to Wi-Fi, a laptop, a smartphone, you can compete with the rest of the world. And that's the future opportunity for our next generation.
It's true. It's the present. It's the present. You log onto the same internet. Wow. Great. Thank you very much. What lovely set of ideas. We get to meet people like you at different forums, and of course get to hear the strategy bits and the work that you're doing. It's rare to find out and I believe that it's a person who makes all of that happen, and that person is the choices you make. Thank you very much for enlightening us, for sharing your journey, and I hope that this really gets many more Abbasis to come out from this country and of course in their own genres, believe that. But thanks a lot. It's been a privilege.
Thank you very much, Umair. It's great to be here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.